Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We have an exciting presentation from Cambridge Broadband and XO Communications. I'm going to turn things over to my colleague Tom Ferris, who's going to do a really brief introduction to Alliance, and then he'll hand things over to Chris and Eric. Again, thanks for joining us, and as a reminder, I am recording the webinar, so if you need to leave or you want to send it to someone afterwards, I will be sending out a link after the webinar with the to the video. As well, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please submit them through the chat, which is an option on the GoToWebinar console. And I think that's it. Thanks, and over to you, Tom.
Thank you, Lisa. Good morning, everybody. My name is Tom Ferris. I'm the Director of USA Broadband Program here at Alliance Communications. This is our third session with Cambridge over the last year. Things just keep getting better. We continue to bring new customers on with this product, and I'm happy to announce Chris Williams of Cambridge is going to be presenting, as well as we have a special guest, Eric Miller of XO Communications, and XO is the licensee of the existing 28 gigahertz spectrum that's available throughout the United States. So what I'm going to do for you today is I'm just going to give you a brief introduction to Alliance, and then we're going to turn it over to Chris and Eric. We recorded in the sign-ups several questions from some of the attendees, and just so happens most of those questions are part of the presentation. So I think we're going to be able to address most of the questions we were provided. If there's anything else you want to add, please use the chat feature on that pop-up screen, and Lisa will announce the questions throughout the presentation today. So, all right. So here we go. So what's exciting about today's presentation? Well, I'm sure a lot of people on the call today have been working with Multipoint last mile solutions for several years now, and you know, things are getting a little crowded in the unlicensed spectrum. So it's very exciting that Cambridge has actually come out in the last several years with a product that can address the concerns of interference with a licensed spectrum multi-point product. And we can also talk about the capacity of this product matching some of the speeds that carriers are offering in the wireline world as well. And because it's licensed, we can provide the same type of reliability or even higher than fiber today. And then I think you'll also see the cost savings of implementing a multi-point system with high capacity versus installing individual point-to-points to get to your end users. So Chris Williams and Eric are going to address all these issues today. So just to give you a little bit about Alliance, Alliance is a distributor. We're a value-added distributor specializing in wireless and wireline telecommunication products. These are the various areas that we focus on. In terms of infrastructure solutions, we provide a variety of different products that go from the top of the tower all the way down into the data center. We have locations throughout the Americas, in the USA, Canada, and Latin America and Mexico. We provide a variety of pre- and post-sales technical support, racking and stacking, training, and a variety of other options for our larger contractors out there. We tend to get very highly involved with our customers here. We don't sit behind the screens and take part numbers and provide prices. We try to get strategic with you. We try to be an independent recommender of technologies, and if you look at our product line that I'll show you in a few minutes, you'll see a little bit of overlap in each one of the various categories, so that we try to put the best of breed out there and what works best for you. In terms of technical services, I mentioned earlier, we provide microwave path licensing in all three of our operation centers in Canada, US, and Mexico. We'll provide network design, radio path surveys. We'll do product pre-configuration in our warehouse facilities. We'll kit, we'll rack and stack. We'll also design your towers for you. As you'll see in a few minutes, we provide towers from several different manufacturers, and we design them from the ground up. And then we also provide Tier 1 and Tier 2 technical support and RMA support for many of our manufacturers. In the broadband side of the business, which is basically the active RF components that provide broadband connectivity, these are our major products. These are our Tier 1s. You'll see we pretty much cover any type of category category out there, from backhaul transpoint to point-to-point and multi-point, licensed and unlicensed, mesh, outdoor Wi-Fi, WiMAX towers, and also a complete line of AC, DC, UPS, and solar products. So we got some of the best of the breed out there, and we'd be happy to work with you with any of these products. There's a whole bunch of others behind what you see on the screen here as well. So we look forward to contacting you after today's session and seeing if we can help you out. We have another webinar coming up shortly. Lisa's going to be sending out an email on this one. It's regarding Ragent and their kinetic mesh solutions, another very exciting product for both the industrial and the enterprise space. We're taping today's session. As Lisa said, it's going to be available up on our YouTube channel. So if you want to catch it, if you have to leave us a little bit early and you want to catch the rest of it, head up to our YouTube channel and check us out. And please visit our Facebook and LinkedIn sites and sign up, and you'll get regular updates on all the activities here at Alliance. Thanks, everybody, and I'll turn things over to Chris. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Tom. My name is Chris Williams. I'm from Cambridge Broadband Networks, based in the United Kingdom, and we're going to be talking about the Vectastar product line from Cambridge Broadband Networks, which, as Tom said, is exciting and relatively new in the USA. Cambridge has been around for about 15 years and has many deployments outside of the United States, but the product line is beginning to grow in the United States now. Very pleased to be working with Alliance as a partner and a distributor for us. So thanks very much for that introduction, Tom. So, partway through this presentation, I'll be handing over to our other colleague, Eric, who's going to talk to you about XO Communications and the part that they play in working with us in being able to deploy Vectastar into the United States. So what are you going to learn today? We're going to do an overview of the new licensed PMP technology. And how is this going to help? Well, we can boost your capacity in the licensed point and multipoint to up to 550 megabits per CPE. That's the full duplex throughput, which effectively will give you up to about 13.2 gigabits per hub site if you have the channel capacity to be able to do that. Because it's licensed and it's FTD, it can deliver guaranteed carrier grade services, and because it's point to multipoint, you're going to see some CapEx, OpEx, and TCO savings in the figures around about what you can see on the screen there. It also allows you, and most of you will know this, to be able to, after you've deployed the first link with the first sector, be able to connect your newer customers in hours rather than days. And it will help you create a business case that will deliver the exceptional services you need and to increase your competitiveness and your return on investment. So what is licensed PMP? So what I'm showing here on the screen is you've got the low-cost sub-6 point-to-multipoint, then you've got high-grade, fully licensed point-to-points, and in the middle we have an optimum, what we call an optimum solution, which is relatively low-cost carrier-grade licensed point-to-multipoint. And what this gives you is all the benefits of PMP. So you get the TCO savings, cost CapEx, and on to point-to-point and fiber. You've got a fast time to market, as I said earlier, installing second and subsequent links in hours rather than days, months, or years. And you get carrier-grade availability. Because it is a fully licensed service, you can do your network planning for anywhere from 99 through to 5 nines availability. And because, again, it is licensed and the spectrum supplier is responsible for making sure it's interference-free, you don't have any of the problems that some of you will have come across in the sub-6 range. And it's higher capacity. So in the channel sizing that we're using, you can do, as we said earlier, the 550 megabits per CPE. So what does it look like? Well, in a single platform, you can have multiple applications, and what this screen is actually showing is 4 sectors, all with a different set of applications in each sector. However, any sector can handle any of these particular applications. So you might have all 4 of those applications running to your different customers in that sector. And that's certainly the case in a lot of our African current customers. They use it for enterprise and wireless backhaul and ISP activity. So some of the benefits to go further. So it's licensed spectrum, so there's no interference. Additionally, because it is FDD, there is no requirement for GPS clocking in it. It's all free running at layer 2. We support 8 levels of quality of service within the system, and we typically have customers who plan for the usual telco figures of 4 nines availability. But like I said, you can plan anything from 99 through to 5 nines. You can, and therefore to staff and up to 8 site additional per sector. If you have a sub hub in it, that radio control can terminate all of those sectors, and it can terminate up to 8 sectors on one radio controller.
Chris, we're
So
having
it certainly gives you, if you do the math, 8 times 30, 240.
Chris, we're having issues with your audio. It's I think it might be the voice over IP. Just so you know. Chris? Okay, I'm going to hand things over to Eric and just ask Eric to do his. Sorry, everybody, about that. I guess that's what happens when you need voice, when you use voice over IP.
All right, can everybody see my presentation?
Yeah, looks great. Thank you.
Okay, all right. So I'll go through my presentation. Just quick, for those of you who are not familiar with EXO Communications, we're a large nationwide CLAC, over 3,000 employees, revenues of about 1.5 billion, so we're a pretty good size company. We focus across all enterprise sizes, from small business to large enterprise, as well as wholesale customers. So we kind of run the gamut. We've got over 1 million miles of metro fiber and a significant long-haul network as well. But one of the things that we do have that a lot of folks don't know about, and is kind of a niche play for us, is we've got a nationwide footprint of 28 gigahertz LMDS spectrum that we acquired back in the mid-90s. And we've done a lot of work with it internally as just network extensions off of our fiber footprint, but we also make it available for spectrum leasing. So this map gives you an idea of where our holdings are. It's all of the major metros, as well as some of a lot of the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Missing from the map is Vegas, as well as a larger portion of Denver. So those have been added as well. And then we also have affiliates with a few smaller markets like Erie and Greensboro and so on, where we've got a marketing agreement where we can offer up their spectrum, and we'll take care of kind of the management and customer-facing elements. Okay. Most markets we've got, I'll show you the band plan. Most markets we have A1, A2, and A3. That's a total of 1,150 megahertz of spectrum. Some of our markets we have all A1, A2, A3, and then the B block, which is the blue slivers to the right, and those are 150 combined. So that brings us to a total of 1,300 megahertz of spectrum in many of our markets. So it's quite a significant amount of spectrum across the country. Some of the benefits of this type of spectrum: it's an area-based license, and it's I think one of the most significant things is the no restriction on antenna size. So that allows us to do a lot of interesting things that we might not be able to do with traditional common carrier, and as opposed to unlicensed spectrum where you could go with smaller antennas. This is purely licensed spectrum, so you can guarantee SLAs to your customers. It's going to be interference-free. We do all the spectrum management just like a ComSearch would with common carrier type spectrum. So we do all that in-house and guarantee interference-free usage. So you've got the benefits of some of the flexibility of unlicensed, but you've got the licensed spectrum. It's widely available, like I said. Number of markets, we've got the full 1.3 gigahertz of spectrum. It's fairly uncongested, unlike common carrier. I was chatting with a customer in San Diego yesterday, and he can't get any common carrier spectrum off of some of his hub locations, and he's a small to mid-sized business customer, and they're a service provider, and just can't get the common carrier spectrum, and he wants licensed spectrum. So this is a good choice for him. Speed of deployment. We can do things fairly rapidly, especially with link by link or sector requests, provided that we don't have to do any cross-border international border coordinations or things like that. So a lot of benefits. One of the areas that we think this spectrum, as well as this multi-point product, fits well is small cell, but a lot of the same reasons why it fits well for small cell also applies to last mile access in a metro. Very similar business case and use model. But some of the challenges with small cell are real estate. How do you get access to the real estate? You need a small form factor. You need cost to be a fraction of what the cost would be to light up a big cell tower. And then being able to place them appropriately where you need them, and then backhaul is a significant issue. How do you get backhaul to these small cells and deliver over 100 megabits with the quality and SLAs that are required, and do it cost effectively? You can't bring fiber to all these potential small cell locations on lampposts and other street furniture cost effectively. So here's a little bit of an example, which I'll show you. It's a hybrid example. It's a mix of fiber and Multipoint. Ran the business case assuming the Cambridge Multipoint. We did a 12-to-1 small cell aggregation. We aggregate everything back at XO on-net location. We assume point-to-multipoint radios. Customer provides the real estate at the small cell, and we provide the real estate at the aggregation point, and we do all the installation. And under these scenarios, we estimated about a 70-80% less than doing a near-net fiber-only solution. So that's fairly significant, and it can drive price points that will actually work for the customer. So here's an example of what that looks like. So there's to the top right is the InfoMart. It's a very popular data center there in Dallas. There's our XO fiber is running to the north of the freeway there. Becomes very expensive to trench that fiber to point south of the freeway, and I scattered a number of locations that could be small cells. They could also be business locations that an ISP might want to light as well. But you can see bringing fiber there, even if it's not available, becomes very expensive. Even though there's fiber just to the north, because you've got some water features as well as that highway that you've got to cross. Whereas if you put in 3 multi-point sectors, you can cover all of those locations very effectively with just those 3 antenna locations. Okay. So now how do we lease? We can do it as a link by link or a sector. Information is submitted to us just using a simple Excel template, and we go through the whole process of availability check, creating path data sheets, working with the customer to complete the 608 form, and then filing that with the FCC. And the FCC authorization is usually within 24 hours of filing the 608. So the process typically takes 2 weeks or less. Okay. Link by link pricing is very competitive with common carrier. usually a 10-year lease on a 2x50 channel. We take care of all the coordination, path data sheets, filing, and link management for the duration of the lease. Sector lease pricing is done on a per sector basis. It's usually an MRC, a monthly fee, with unlimited remote terminals within that sector, so it can scale with your business. And we can provide volume discounts depending on the size of the account. Terms are typically 5 years with a potential renewal at the end of the term, 2x50 megahertz channel. And again, we provide all the frequency coordination, path data sheets, filing, and link management for the duration of the lease.
Eric?
We do some block. Yes.
Sorry, it's Lisa. I've just got a couple of questions that some people have submitted.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't mind taking them. One of the
Sure.
slides notes the addition of Las Vegas BTA. Which bands are available in Las Vegas?
It's the 28 LMDS. We have all of the LMDS in Las Vegas now, all the A band.
Then the second question was, sorry?
We do have a 39. We do have some 39 holdings, but it's pretty slim, and there's a lot of and for the most part they're active. So we wouldn't do much with our 39 license there, but we do have the 28.
And then the second question was, what is the common carrier band you mentioned?
Any of the common carrier, 11, 18, 23.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's it. Sorry to interrupt.
Block leasing. No problem. Block leasing. We sometimes do block leasing in select markets. We wouldn't normally do this in major metros, but in some of our markets we do it. It gives you the flexibility of basically having control over a block of spectrum and planning as you see fit. So you become the managers of that block and take care of all the engineering, frequency planning, coordination, and so on. And it's exclusively yours. So it's probably more cost effective if you're doing very large deployments, but for smaller or success-based deployments, sector by sector usually is more cost effective. So that's basically it. There's my contact information, and I will hand it back to Chris.
Great. Thanks a lot, Eric, and thanks for picking it up so quick when we were having audio issues. So it looks like Chris is able to get an actual landline, and I'm going to transfer him back and make him the presenter.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Hopefully you can all hear me pretty well now.
Yes, we can hear you
Lisa,
great.
just want to confirm.
Yes,
okay,
I can.
Thanks.
Perfect.
Okay. Apologies for the slight technical hitch there. So this was the last slide we got to, where I was talking about sites per sector. And thank you, Eric. That was perfect sideline into your side and into spectrum leasing, which will show benefits later on. So all this was leading me to the fact that it would increase your effectiveness by offering higher SLAs and increase the return on investment by serving many customers in the sector. And as Eric was saying, common carrier is getting exceedingly rare now and very difficult to actually get links in. So we've got high capacity. We talked about 550 megabits per sector. Now that 550 is full duplex, and it's available depending on the quality of service you're going to give the end customer for any and every CPE within that sector. Obviously, you have to work out what your average usage is going to be on a per RT basis, and you will have your own quality of service parameters in. And that means that in a one sector deployment, by doing what we are calling 2+0, which is 2 channels on the same polarization, firing down at the same azimuth, you can actually have a capacity of 1.1 gigabits in that sector. Now that says 1.1 gigabits per CPE, but in actual fact, one CPE can only look at one channel, so that basically is across the sector rather than per CPE. The latency on it is very low, which, as you all know, LTE is very, very latency aggressive on it. So the equipment has been built with a very low latency in it. That latency does not increase depending on how many customers you have as endpoints in it. And the whole reason for that is because unlike Sub 6, it is not dependent on swapping between transmit and receive, because there's a completely separate go and return channel. Depending on where you are within the USA, you can get out to 2.5 miles with the full 550 megs throughput on a 4 nines availability. And what that gives you then is the capacity to acquire and retain some of your most demanding customers, with provision for up to 1.1 gigabits in a sector. So the faster time to market element of it, we're just doing some comparisons here. Eric talked about the problems in the study that he showed you. So built fiber could take years or months, or even never, depending on the local authority and what the plans are. Leased fiber, if it's there, that can take months or weeks to get the lease sorted out and make sure it's actually in the place that you need it. Point to point, that can take months or weeks, and again, that will depend on how the coordination goes. And of course, you have to negotiate for every point to point you want to put in, from maybe one building to a number of buildings. You have to negotiate the lease for the antenna on that building. Whereas point to multi-point, once you have the sector antenna up, and there'll be one sector for, if you have 4 sectors maximum to cover 360 degrees, then you're talking about being able to turn it up in days to hours. And so hopefully that will help you to beat any competition you have there, particularly in terms of the throughput available and the time to deliver. And therefore it's thoroughly accelerating your return on investment. So a quick look at CapEx and OpEx savings. So you're avoiding the cost of built fiber. There's almost half the equipment of point-to-point of the same capability. Reduce field activity, because for every new link, you're only turning out one team for one customer. That's after, obviously, if the first sector has gone in. You avoid the high costs on leasing fiber. In terms of leasing spectrum, it is low cost, and Eric's comes through with the perfect sort of presentation to back that one up. And you can connect new CPEs without further hub or equipment visits. So all the provision is done over the air from the network operating center. All that the deployers have to do is set the frequency, point the antenna and bolt it to the mast, connect it to the customer, and all the provisioning will then be done over the air. And therefore you get the following: you get about 30% CapEx, 50% OpEx, and approximately 50% TCO, compared with normal fiber on all point-to-point work. So Eric introduced XO Communications. So we have another partner in the spectrum side of this, and that is Straight Path. And Straight Path have where Eric's XO don't have the 28 gigahertz spectrum. Straight Path are probably the majority owner outside of that. However, XO have the vast majority of the 28 gig spectrum. So what we've done is we've actually tied up both the partners in this so that we can get a quick return and allow you to be able to deploy 28 wherever it's still available. And I think, as Eric explained, there are some basic trading areas that have been withdrawn by the FCC. That may change towards 2017. However, today we have the majority holders of the spectrum as partners within this. There's just a reiteration on that in terms of Straight Path seem to promise that they can be able to give you coordination and be able to deploy in 1 to 2 days. And that will all depend, as Eric was saying, on the coordination they have to do. Is there any cross-border? Do they have any other links in the area? So moving on to the equipment itself, what it looks like. So today, the equipment that's available to you is in the 28 gigahertz A1 spectrum for the most part. However, we do have product that in some areas of the USA, depending on who the spectrum owner is, they mandate that you have to have the equipment spread over the A1 and A2 bands, and that's simply left over from some of the days where the previous LMDS equipment worked in the old 1008 megahertz duplex shift. So we have the product to be able to do that. Late in 2016, we will be introducing a product in the 39 GHz spectrum, and again, both straight path and EXO own spectrum in that particular band. So that'll be coming along towards the end of 2016. The equipment will basically be a new radio built on the standard current platform of Vectastar, so we'll have exactly the same capabilities, but obviously the link distances being 39 GHz will be slightly less. The equipment, as we said, can go up to a maximum of 30 remote terminals in any one sector, which gives you a hub capacity of 13.2 gigabits. And that is effectively using to do the maths on this properly to get the 13.2 gigabits, it's 550 megabits in a sector, 12 sectors of 30 degrees around the campus rows, and double that up. So that comes out to 13.2 gigabits. Not that there is anybody in the world that is actually doing that right now. It's just showing you that the capability is there.
Hey, Chris, it's Lisa. Just to interrupt you for a second. We have a question.
Go ahead.
Where can we find more information about your QoS strategy and capabilities? I.e., is it proprietary in the physical layer, or DCSP, etc.?
Okay, I can answer that right now. If you're signed up with Alliance and you have NDAs in place, then we can release to you the technical specification, which gives a bit more detail on the QoS. But basically, the Vectastar solution is a layer 2 device. It's a very smart layer 2 device. We do not open IP packets, so currently we don't open the DSCP side of it. However, by doing P-bit mapping into DSCP or with your routers, we can actually look at P-bits and do prioritization and QoS built on P-bits as well as standard Ethernet QoS. If you need any more, please drop Lisa an email, and we'll try and give you a response fairly quickly if you need more information on that.
That's great. Thanks a lot, Chris.
Okay. So in terms of antennas, on the sector side, we have two sets of antennas, one 90-degree and one 30-degree antenna. By far the most popular right now is the 90-degree antenna because that gives you quite a large coverage area. However, some customers want some slightly more range and a slightly tighter beam, and so we've introduced a 30-degree antenna. And the slightly tighter beam means that you get about 3 dBs more gain on the antenna, so you can get a link out to about 10 to 15% further than with a 90-degree antenna. On the remote terminal side,
Chris, are you there? Uh-oh, we've lost the audio for Chris. Tom, can you jump in, please?
Yeah, I can. Let me just pull up the presentation on my screen here, and I'll take over for him. How about that? What slide is he on here? 12? All right.
I think there's an opportunity for somebody to get into this hotel that he's staying at in California and talk to them about service.
Anybody out there? Was this the slide he was on? The Vectastar 600?
Yes, that's it. Thanks.
Okay, great. If Chris comes back, I'll relinquish the con to him. But so, as Chris may have started to say here, this is a picture and some specs on the Vectastar Metro 600 series, which is specifically designed for small backhaul. If you notice, the form factor is rather small here. I believe it's about 6-inch wide with the ears and a little bit between about 8 to 10 inches high. It's a perfect implementation for a traffic signal, a lamppost, or any other street-level type furniture out there. Again, this operates today in the 28 gig, the A1 and A1A/A2, and also will be available in the 39 gig later this year. They've put up some availability and capacity ranges here of up to 4 nines with about 550 megabits of total link capacity at about a half a mile. So that's very strong for a product of this size. And again, you have the same type of capability in terms of running up to 30 sectors per pop site for an aggregate capacity of 13.2 gigabit. And I believe that this product can also be used as a multi-point access point as well. So, and again, a zero indoor footprint. Everything's based on PoE, and it's a fully integrated antenna as shown in the picture. So it's a nice little unit here if you're trying to do some small cell applications, and you have you're very tight for space on the mounting location. So, Chris, are you back?
Hi, Chris is back. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think I have. Okay. You want to take it back, Chris? Do you want to throw up your slide? I'll relinquish.
Why don't we stick with
Okay,
you?
where did you get to?
Stick with
stick with you, Tom.
Either
Yeah.
that, if you can talk to the slide that I have up on the board right now, and then just let me know when you want me to switch. How about that?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Sorry, Chris. Before you get started,
Yeah.
I just have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Okay. So the first question is: does modulation per link affect overall performance on the sector? Will the current VNMS handle both the 28 and 39 gigahertz bands?
Yeah, both the VNMS and the radio controller will handle 39 because they are completely frequency agnostic. So they don't care what frequency it is. Today we have the VNMS and the radio controllers handling our very old 3.5 gigs equipment, 10.5, 26 and 28 in one customer's network. So it's perfectly okay to handle that. In terms of the modulation, if you have quite a number of sites running at very low modulation, obviously the overall sector capacity will be reduced in terms of what you can get. However, when you are running the equipment, each RT can have its own cap set, it can have its own maximum modulation set, and more to the point, every service that runs over that remote terminal can also have the same dynamic. So you can, for instance, if you have a link that is quite long but can achieve 256 QAM some of the time, however you have voice over IP running over it, then you can set quality of service on the voice over IP and cap that down at, let's say, 64 QAM, let everything else ramp up, and that means that the voice over IP will always get the sort of priority and won't be subject to ramping up and ramping down, even though the modulation changes for adaptive modulation are hitless on the way down and on the way up.
Thanks, Chris. The second question was, can you repeat the hub capacity calculation or send it out with the slides?
Sure. It isn't actually with the slide. So the capacity calculation is 12 sectors running on 30-degree antennas. That gives you 12 times 550, and then you double it up by making it 2 plus 0. So effectively you have 2 sectors on 2 different channels running at the same bearing. So that gives you a total of 24 times 550, which is about 13.2 gigabits.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. That's it for questions. You can go ahead.
Okay. Thanks, Tom, for filling in there. My phone crashed, so even though I wasn't on voice over IP, I still had a problem.
Sure.
So the summary is that basically the level of license point to multipoint has not been available in the US, certainly at this capacity. There have been previous offerings, notably from Hughes and previously with Metro and SR Telecom, but they were in the days of LMDS, where LMDS was basically mandated at fairly large downlink but fairly low uplink capacity. So totally the capacity and performance are there to attract and retain more of your customers. You get savings and increase in your return of investment, speedy to deploy. It's fairly easy for the engineers to manage the network design and management, and we provide the tools for that. We don't sell them. We allow you to use them because we want you to install this right first time. And our deployments in the US are growing daily. We have today, if I remember rightly, about 13 states with deployments in them, and about another 10 states with potential for deployments. The kit's been in use across the world over the whole time that CBNL has been in existence, so since 2000. By far our biggest deployments are in Africa, one of the customers in Africa on one network is running over 10,000 elements in his link, in his network. And so overall, it lets you build a profitable business case to go forward. Next slide, please, Tom. Okay, just to reiterate the field proven side of this, we've got, it says 9 states there. That's actually, like I said, there's a few more. And there are basically 5 networks either being turned up now or running in New York City itself. Our main customers across the world include 7 of the world's largest top 10 operators. And on the bottom there, you can see Vodafone, Orange, MTN, Telefonica, Airtel, and Etisalat. And something you may have seen in the Microwave Journal, there's a joint statement being put out by 123net in Detroit, who have deployed and are very happy with the solution. And that's in partnership with Alliance. So thank you very much for that, Tom.
Very welcome.
And I think that's it.
Don't forget to talk about your awards, Chris.
Yeah, just I'll jump in a little bit. This year we've received 5 awards, 2 of them being the Telecom Award, Telecom.com Awards, and the Mobility Tech Zone Award. We also have a significant presence in the Small Cell Forum. We're members of the CCA. We have an input into the Next Generation Mobile Networks Forum, and we're also an MEF member. Okay, next, and I think that's it. Okay.
I think that's it.
Thank you very much, and I do apologize for all of the technical difficulties.
Lisa, do we have any more questions?
No, there are no more questions. So thank you, everybody, for the. Oh, no, there's a question. How does the move towards edge data centers affect your product offering, if at all, in network design?
To edge networks? Just read that question again.
Sorry. How does the move towards edge data centers affect your product offering, if at all, in a network design?
It doesn't really affect it at all, because what you're doing is you're designing towards the front of the network. The Vectastar network management system will run on a virtual platform and will sit in your virtual NOC, and will be able to be managed from that NOC, so you can manage it from anywhere in the world. And just to give you an example, we have a customer in South America who runs 3 countries worth of networks from Argentina.
Okay, great. Thanks. There is one more question. And just as a reminder, if you want to send one in, you can go right ahead. Does the remote terminal side have to be registered also, or just the hub sector?
That's a question for Eric, and I guess I mean licensing-wise. And
Eric,
generally, yes.
What do you mean? The question was registered?
Yeah, the remote terminals. Do they have to register every time they turn up a remote terminal, Eric, or can they do anything they want in their sector?
It depends on the type of lease, but in general, if it's just a sector lease, and if it's a per sector lease and we're managing it, we do need to know where the remote terminals are, just because there could be in the market there could be that same spectrum used elsewhere within the market. If it's a block lease, it doesn't matter. But if it's a sector lease, yes.
Okay, that's great. Thanks a lot. We don't have any more questions, so I'm going to say thank you to all of my panelists today, and thank you to everyone for attending. As a reminder, we've got them up on the screen. There is another webinar that we're hosting in a couple of weeks, introducing Ragent Mesh Solutions. And soon you will see a follow-up email from me that will include a link to this recording and a copy of the PowerPoint if you would like it. We can send that out as well. Just send me a quick email. Thanks again, and hope to speak with you soon.